So there's Saturn, spinning through space. It's in opposition, or nearly so, to planet Earth right now, meaning that we lie between it and the sun, more or less. But opposition actually was right around the new year, so we're moving a little bit away from that. Nevertheless, the planet is magnificent as it'll be for the next 30 years. And it is neat to look at. It is amazing, though, that life developed here on Earth. But I think what's even more amazing is that at the height of the information age, we're having non-scientists lead the way. Non-scientists who have shown themselves time and again to be interested in money, material wealth for themselves over everything else. There's probably an afterlife, according to Untold, scientists who really studied this for a long time.
Near-death experiences, of course, are fairly common, and people who have astral projections can see their body lying below during surgery, for instance. That happens frequently, or sometimes in sleep. And some of this has been photographed under scientific test conditions, so we know it's real. And if you get the same information from widely scattered sources and they don't know each other, you have to assume that it's from the same source.
Right. That's what I liked when I first read your material, that you had the scientific mind. You didn't just want to accept something because somebody said it. No. Right? You
there are
wanted
3 dirty words in my vocabulary. It's belief, disbelief, and supernatural.
That's interesting. Thanks, Dr. Holzner. It seems that what you reap, you sow. How you feel here, you feel there. Are you standing for something here? It's time we all stood for something, in my view. Bottom line is that for a fraction of the Pentagon budget, 1,000 children's lives per hour could be saved. In the United States, what's this thing? Well, there's people fishing in this polluted river over here, or bay. There's people going through garbage cans here. The nation's top crime for non-crime, leaving by default more criminals of every other kind. We're supposed to be worried about the threat of terrorism, and yet this thing, these columns are about ready to fall into one of these buildings, it looks like soon. What is this? If it's anything other than water, which it has to be, because water will dissipate within seconds after the plane leaves its trail, then it's not safe, or it's not known to definitely be safe. How can it be? And yes, I do think that grand things can be done right in the open, especially when I see a murderous ex-cheerleader fool who started 2 wars in as many years be picked as the most admired in America. So this guy got a little shaky when he watched his buddy have a couple ribs broken, so pardon the shake.
While other candidates for governor claim they are for the environment and are willing to go to the mat, so far only one has. Douglas Campbell. Democracy! Democracy! Here's your democracy! Douglas Campbell for governor. Green economy, green jobs, green party.
Well, that's how they eliminate your mainstream candidates.
Former U.S. Senator Robert Bob Torricelli, Democrat, New Jersey, successfully dodged the following debate prior to the 2002 election, when his toughest competition was eliminated via arrest.
That's not my call. I think it's up arrested and left to do with it. Well, I don't. You negotiate over the rules of the debate. How about talking about the issues with it? Let's have a real debate.
Why is it that the first people are taken away to jail? Oh my God, that's not going to walk us straight to helicopter.
Bob, isn't it true that you were one of 12 of the dirty dozen Democrats that went along with W's tax-cutting rape for the people that benefited the 1%? Isn't that true?
What about the war, Bob?
How about the drug war, Bob? You know, they're victimless criminals that are put in and have to sit their lives in cages.
No debate, no democracy. Longtime, well-respected public advocate Ralph Nader was physically stopped from even attending the first of the 2000 presidential debates, even though it was a public event for which he had a general admission pass to attend. So, a citizen whose direct actions have resulted in the saving of hundreds of thousands of American lives was simply eliminated. The only candidate among the top three with the same platform was then termed a spoiler of the election. The real spoilers of the election were the ones who kept his reasonable positions out of the public limelight, as the biggest of lies remain unchecked and the biggest of truths remain untold.
The debate between W and then Vice President Albert Gore, the debates between them, were a joke. Few significant matters were discussed because they were on the same page regarding most matters. So, while I'm in agreement that we need to get this monster out of here, I also realize that had we had fair elections in this country last time around, 9/11/01 likely would have been just another day, and the World Trade Towers would likely still be standing. Why? Because the Iraqi embargo would have ended, and so would the slanted U.S. policies in Israel and Palestine.
I was sitting outside the classroom waiting to go in, and I saw an airplane hit the tower of a TV. You know, the TV was obviously on, and I used to fly myself, and I said, well, there's one terrible pilot.
Terrible pilot?
How many people knew? Well, I knew because I found it buried in the New York Times.
You found this?
Months later.
David Hume stated over 2.5 centuries ago, "Nothing appears more surprising to those who consider human affairs with a philosophical eye than the easiness with which the many are governed by the few." The mass media are the few. They are ruining all of our lives, and it's coming at the expense of the world. This is what the northern polar ice cap looked like in 1979. This is what it looks like now. Actually, in 2003. 1979. 2003. Front page headlines? Try page F4, deep in the recesses. Because what's happening to planet Earth doesn't seem to be priority news in the New York Times. Who's that senator who said it was Bush versus our grandkids, or what do you think it is?
I didn't hear that part.
No, it was a Green Party candidate, I know.
Yeah, it would be Senator Brown, Senator Buck Brown.
Wow.
Green Senator from Tasmania.
Wow. Yeah, he was dead on with that. Because, it had to do with the, global warming and all that. I mean, let's face it, 15,000 French this summer died from heat. That's 5 9/11s. That ocean rises, these are going to be the first to go. You know something, we allow global warming to continue, and we have freshwater rivers that are actually flowing into saltwater oceans on both polar ends, thanks to global warming. These people are going to be gone. So even though They're real happy with the tax cuts, which benefit them at the expense of everybody else. Well, they're getting a royal shaft too, is my point. My point is, this is our Earth. It's not the 1% primary benefactors of societies that live on the Earth. Nice beach. Other than all the garbage. On September 23, 1947, Lieutenant General Nathan D. Twining, in a letter to the Commanding General of the U.S. Army Air Force regarding its investigation of UFO sightings, stated, "The phenomena reported is something real and not visionary or fictitious. These are objects probably approximating the shape of a disc, of such appreciable size as to appear to be as large as a man-made aircraft. The reported operating characteristics such as extreme rates of climb, maneuverability, particularly in roll, an action which must be considered evasive when sighted or contacted by friendly aircraft and radar, lend belief to the possibility that some of the objects are controlled either manually, automatically, or remotely." Twining, subsequently promoted to general, was also chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff from 1957 to 1960, meaning this is old news. It's just been kept out of the mainstream, diluted and distorted, like the rest of the important news that I'm bringing up. So anyway, don't you think it's time that we start voting for rational candidates? Instead of having our top crime be a non-crime? And outlawing plants which could be fueling our cars? How about a tax rate, tax schedule, which was more like it was in 1960, when the highest income was taxed at 91%, realizing that other people had to do the work in order for them to have that income. Now come on, people. They're taxed 35% now. Meanwhile, if anything else, out there is more technologically advanced, and it comes in here, they're going to have our way with us. Because we're too busy having non-scientists lead the way. I'm Senator John Kerry.
Cousin to
George W. Bush. We're distant kin, but we are kin. And we're kin who stand for the wealthy. You know, my wife is a rich lady too, you know. Yet she made me sign an old prenup. Nevertheless, I want you to trust me with a long term to lead you, even though I have a long history of not standing for you, as you can remember every time you see my long face. Yeah, you pull that lever down, all right. Voting against my kin. Hitler did say, "What luck for the rulers that men do not think." And consider that our nation's top crime is possession of a plant that actually has many useful qualities to it, and few dangerous qualities at all. I mean, negligible. So, or practically so. No more harmful than anything you get at several miles of a supermarket. So, and also, here's what's even more important, is that hemp is outlawed. Hemp oil could be fueling our cars and combust clean. Now, why is it outlawed? Isn't it time that we started thinking and questioning? Yes, that's right. We could be growing our own oil to fuel our cars, and it would actually combust cleaner, but we don't, because the plant is illegal. When Hitler said, "What luck for the rulers that men do not think," include women, and include now, because if people continue voting for one of the two candidates whom the elite choose to present for selection, then we'll keep waging war worldwide for oil when we could be growing it. Let me tell you why I'm not too pleased about this little girl who is Jesse Jackson's granddaughter hugging Mr. Bush. See this woman here crying? Her father was executed by Mr. Bush. He was convicted of a robbery and murder in 1981. Nearly 2 weeks after the crime, the state's prime witness could not pick Gary's picture out of a photo lineup. Mr. Graham was arrested with a .22 caliber pistol. The victim had been killed with a .22, but the police firearms examiner determined that Mr. Graham's gun did not fire the fatal bullet. 4 witnesses said Gary Graham was with them, miles away from the convenience store when the murder occurred. All 4 took and passed polygraph tests. No physical evidence. Another signature, another death. Bush's signature. And that's just one. How about all these members of the military? I've been to war. I raised twins. If I had a choice, I'd rather go to war. This is just the first 106. There's over 500 now in the Iraq War, the second Iraq War. Compliments of a man who went AWOL from the National Guard and got in the National Guard and got out of going to Vietnam. Well, there you see it. The actions of one man versus all these Americans. People. As a young boy, I grew up practically worshiping the President of the United States. That is, until I became more informed as an adolescent and began reading Mad Magazine, who even still comes through, it seems, or did in this last issue of the 52 least wanted Americans, in which we do have the real ones in here, including the turkey George Bush, who, thanks to his smart propagandist advisors, I'm sure, made the cover of Newsday, the Daily News, the New York Times, and USA Today comes through among that list as the least of the worst by having the smallest picture. But the fact remains that the former cheerleader, yes, that's right, your president was a cheerleader during high school, didn't visit families of this kid, did he? Did he have Thanksgiving with any of the families of these people? It seems that Mad Magazine got it right again in the January 2004 issue, especially regarding the G.I. Joke action figure. Bends over backwards for special interests. Reaches for handouts from wealthy corporate campaign contributors. Move and manipulate him just like big oil and the extreme right wing do. I don't think that everybody needs to study Gray's Anatomy or Guyton's textbook of medical physiology. However, I do wish they understood the ABCs of the human body, a little bit about the brain, and a little bit about the fact that their consent is being manufactured. While you do this, and while you do this, and most of all while you do this, the world, our world, is doing this. It looks like I got the ball, don't it now? All right.
Others.
That's what we're trying to do. Call review.
Isn't that what we need to do? Go for the throat of the dragon? If we don't, the dragon will surely devour us. Who is the dragon? Dragon is more than one. Dragon is the U.S. mass media. There's a few, but proportionately, very few. And what they're doing is making sure that 1% benefit at the expense of everyone else. That doesn't mean that all those in the top 1% of the income earners are bad. It means that those who are manipulating news to the detriment of mankind are bad. That's a clear distinction. But if we want to overcome the mass media, who have been overcoming us, then we need to grab the dragon by the throat. These people had their flaws, but they laid a foundation that enables us to overcome this nonsense now.
The people united will never be defeated! The people united will